Thursday Night Tailgate, where the spotlight is always on the positive. Tune in Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time to hear your favorite NFL legends, players, and coaches sharing their stories. Now back to Chris and Bob.
I wouldn't joke about anything else that happens here tonight.
All right, and now joining us on the Kaiven Foods guest line is our next guest, Jeff Criswell. Let me remind you about Jeff's background. He is from Searsboro, Iowa, which is a small town of a population of 164 folks in the central part of Iowa. Played his college ball at Graceland University, which is an NAIA school up there in Iowa. He was a 4-year starter and an All-American. In 2000, he was inducted into the Graceland Sports Hall of Fame. Jeff was an undrafted free agent signed by the Colts in 1987, and he played in the league from 87 to 1998 for the Colts, Jets, and Chiefs. And we're excited he is back with us again here tonight on Thursday Night Tailgate. Hey, Jeff, Chris, and Bob, thanks for making time for us tonight.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey guys, how are you? I'm glad and fortunate to be here. If you've ever been on a New York train late at night coming from the city to Greenwich, it's quite interesting. I can tell you that.
No doubt. So, Jeff, I wanted to kind of start our time with you tonight. Here we are. We're coming to the end of the exhibition season. We're getting ready to start the regular season. You signed, with the Colts as an undrafted free agent. We know that that's got to be a hard road to hoe to get through and, to be recognized by the coaching staff, get their attention, and then to make your way all the way through all of that and make it to the final roster. What did you do to catch the coaching staff's eye when the Colts signed you?
Well, I would like to say that I dazzled them and, made all the right moves and, created my own luck. But the truth of the matter is, in 1987, I had already been out of football and working, moved from out of Graceland and moved to Southern California, was working in a fitness center as a general manager or an assistant manager there, and had basically been out of football for over a year and a half. And then the strike came in 1987. At that point, I still had an agent. I don't even know why. And the opportunity where they were, basically bringing guys in off of the street. And that's how I got my opportunity to showcase what talent I had and signed with the Indianapolis Colts, which we ended up winning, 2 out of 3 games. I think we were there a total of 5 or 6 weeks. And it was a fast-paced learning. Had to learn everything in 10 days. And then I had our first game. I had never played on AstroTurf before. Graceland College, AI Division II school. At that time, there weren't any schools, and even in our conference, that had turf. So there's a lot of, playing in a stadium, never really a stadium, always played in kind of a cow pasture that had bleachers around it. And so it was quite different for me as a small player. God bless my coaches at Graceland, but quite frankly, I didn't know a lot of the calls that offensive lines generally have throughout the league, not only in college football, but in the pros as well. So I had to learn pretty quick, and I really attribute me making the team and then going on from there to the Jets the following year and really competing for a job at that point that, they could bring in. I think we had 145 guys come into camp with the New York Jets in 1988, which now I think it's 80 players, and there's limited roster, all this kind of stuff. But I think we had like 14 deep at guard and tackle. So
wow,
and yeah, it was just insane. And what little scouting that my agent, who really I was his only player. He was a new agent, and he lived in California as well. He had researched the team to see, what their needs were, which, is what agents should be doing. And, of course, they had a couple veteran players. They didn't know if they were happy with them. If they were going to draft, they were going to draft late in the later rounds. And lo and behold, I signed with them, and lo and behold, they go after, they get a first round, a third round, a 6th round, and a 9th round offensive lineman, not to mention the guys they already had. So I always say, if I wouldn't have went in '87 and played during the strike and and got some experience because I was actually able, when I got to the Jets, to work in with the veterans. They considered me more or less a veteran versus a rookie, and it gave me more reps. They gave me a little more clout with coaches, and I picked up on everything very quickly. Thank God. Joe Walton was the coach at the time, and Richie Kotite was the offensive coordinator, and frankly, that offense was a tough offense to learn. I can't even tell you. I remember Kenny O'Brien stating to us one time that he had I think it was 14 or 15 things he had to say in the huddle just to get one play off, putting everybody in the right position, getting the play, the count and all. Yeah, it was just insane to learn that. Of course, we only had to learn a small part of that, but so anyway, I attribute, being quick on my feet and thinking, being a thinking man, and getting the opportunity and doing the best, making the best of it at that time. So that's kind of how I got into that. That is how I got into pro football. And when I got to the Jets, I ended up making the not only the team, but was rotating in with a starting guard at the time, which was Mike Haight. And then our left tackle, who was a first-round pick, Dave Cadigan from USC, he went down in the fourth game with a foot injury. And they needed me to replace him. And truthfully, I was playing more guard than I was playing tackle, but I was the backup. And so my first start in the National Football League with the Jets was against the Detroit Lions. And I did okay. I played hard. I felt like I had a lot of rug burns and carpet burns at that time. And if you're an offensive lineman and you're on the ground a lot, that's really not that good. And at least that's what they told me. And I remember I made a stupid rookie mistake. And because one of the reporters in New York had asked me, how I was going to play and what did I really think I was going to do. And I remember saying I was going to kick whoever it was his butt. And not thinking about the repercussions of, how that might fire the other team up, or even what my own teammates might say about it. I was just a dumb rookie. And I remember going to the airport that day to get on the plane to go play Detroit. And our offensive line coach at the time was Dan Radakovich, and he had a newspaper in his hand. And he sat down beside me at the airport, and I thought, what the hell is he sitting beside me for? And next thing you know, he opens the paper and he starts to read, and he gave me a cussing for that. Yeah, it was terrible. And even worse was the very next game was against as a Monday night game, and it was against the Buffalo Bills, and of course Bruce Smith being on the right end. Guys, I don't think I even touched him that night. I don't remember. He was just like a blur going around me constantly. And needless to say, we were down 35-0, I think, at halftime. And I had given up 2 sacks, a fumble, an offsides, a holding. I mean, everything you could possibly go wrong went wrong. And they stuck with me, and I got better. So that's how I got started.
And Jeff, as you talk about the local New York press and the media up there, and while you were with the Jets, the team had between 6 and 8 wins a season, and playing in New York, that usually doesn't go over very well either with the fans or the media. What was it like for you trying to deal with the media or the fans during that time?
You're absolutely right. I mean, unfortunately, winning is everything, and I got to find that out in the later part of my career when I signed with the Chiefs, and we won the AFC West twice, and we're 13-3, and had good players and good quarterbacks, and just a good team to play for and good owner. And truthfully, Leon Hess and the organization, they were good ownership too, and they were willing to put the money out there, but we didn't win very many football games. And I remember in I think it was 92, Bruce Coslet was our coach, and Dave Cadigan and I decided that we were going to have a radio show, and we started with WBAB, and that went pretty well. I think it was actually the first year Boomer Esiason was on our team. and we had some success there. I think we went 8-8. We beat the Dolphins in the last regular season game to give us an even record, but put us in the playoffs, and we played the Houston Oilers. But as far as the media goes, being that there are so many tabloids there's so much press coverage. And at that time, the New York Giants were Super Bowl champions almost every year, it seemed. And we were kind of second-class citizens. And, these guys were going around, they all of them had their own gigs on Fridays and their own radio shows. And, I mean, everybody was doing commercials, and we were trying to stay out of the spotlight, with our record. And regardless of how good you are if you're on a bad team long enough, your name comes up as potentially part of the problem, or maybe not working out for you. And for the most part, I would say that my personal success, I had a lot of success with the Jets. I played pretty well for them, but we didn't win very many games, and it was frustrating. And it was well written about, constantly. It seemed like we were always defending ourselves to the paper and so forth, and justifiably so. We weren't winning very many football games, and truthfully, the fans deserved a lot better than what we were putting on the field. There were times that I felt like it was Murphy's Law that hell, they'd kick the ball off. We'd instead of going forward, we would be back on the 5-yard line, worrying about a safety. And instead of, worrying about making a touchdown, we're going backwards right on the first kickoff. And it seemed that way for quite some time. And then, like I said, once I got out of New York and signed with the Chiefs, an already established Marty Schottenheimer team, most winning team in the 90s. So it was a lot of fun, and it took a lot of pressure. Takes a lot of pressure off you. Sometimes I can remember a couple seasons there, we were out of by the 8th game of the year, and it was just everybody was injured, and it was just ridiculous. But you pull through it, and what don't kill you makes you stronger. And I think it did make me a little stronger over the years.
Bob, questions for Jeff?
It's great to speak with you again, Jeff. I remember I was a student in college in the 80s in New York City, and going down to the Meadowlands and tailgating, and whether the team was not too good or not, Jeff, we had so much fun watching you guys. And being a professional athlete like you were in the big city for 7 years, I'm sure you saw, Jeff, a lot of guys that either got eat up by it or just didn't handle it correctly. Didn't seem like you had that problem, but talk about being a big athlete playing in New York for at least an extended period of time.
Well, you know what? Recently, I watched LT's story, his documentary. It's been out for a while, but I just recently had watched it. And he's a guy I played against, and I like to hear his story and how things developed for him. And he had a great career and perennial All-Pro and Hall of Famer, but he had a checkered past as well. And there has been guys through the years, especially in New York, being that there's so many things that you can get caught up in, and everybody wanting a piece of you, and that's like that anywhere you go. Maybe in Kansas City, it was a little more hometown, and you didn't have it quite as much. Because I could tell you, on Monday nights when our nights were off to go out and have a beer or whatever, there was a lot to do in New York on Monday nights, believe it or not. I remember going to the China Club and the Palladium. We were just talking about that today with some friends, the Limelight, on and on and on with what's open on Monday nights. And then you go out to the Midwest. And I remember I had my own limousine service all the time, but partly just because I didn't like driving in New York. But you go to Kansas City, there's nothing open on Monday nights, and it was a good place to raise your family. So, but guys do get caught up in it. And, we lived in, the thing about the Jets at the time, we actually lived in Long Island, and most of us lived out towards Jones Beach and Point Lookout and Long Beach, which, is quite a trip to the city. So you don't, I think maybe we had one guy or two guys that actually lived in the city and took a train or whatever to get out to Hempstead. So we weren't caught up in it maybe as much as maybe the Giants were, being that they were actually easier commute to the city than we were from where they are.
Jeff, when I think of retired offensive linemen in the league, I think of guys that really took beatings and their legs took beatings. And I think of guys like Mark Schlereth with the multiple knee surgeries. And it seems like knees take a beating. And that's a sport where all people's knees take beating. But the offensive lineman, Jeff, is it a question of being so big, having that kind of weight on your build, or is it just the backpedaling? What do you attribute a lot of those bad injuries to offensive linemen, or the fact that a lot of them aren't doing well now as far as getting around well?
You know what? I'm at that age. I'm 53 now, and I'm at the age where a lot of my friends, and including myself at times, I've been very fortunate. The things that have happened to me over the years, I wouldn't even say are so much football related. Currently, I think I have my right knee is I can feel a little bone on bone, but it's not at a point where I can't run and jump and do things, and it doesn't swell up. But you're right, and some guys just have bad luck. I can tell you that offensive and defensive linemen, even the linebackers and running backs, we pretty much, especially the linemen, we hit somebody on every play, even in practice. I know even with playing with the Chiefs, Marty Schottenheimer would have the no-pad drills, but he still expects you to kind of hit each other, and actually deterred a lot of free agents from coming to the Chiefs. But it was tough. I counted in one practice, I hit my head 400 times on something, whether it be a bag, a person, my own teammate just running through drills, but 400 times just, clipping somebody. And so it's a no wonder that guys have concussion syndrome and CTE or neck injuries or total hip replacements at my age and total knee replacements at my age and so forth. So, but I feel very fortunate. I'm doing well. I thank the good Lord for that. And I'm still able to work out and stay in shape.
So, Jeff, one more before we let you go. And the final game that you played in 1992 came against the Saints, and they had one of the great defenses of all time. That year, guys like Sam Mills and Ricky Jackson, Von Dunbar, Pat Swilling, our good friend Toy Cook was on that team as well. Do you remember that game and what it was like going up against that defense?
Yeah, my last game with the Jets was actually in '94, and I couldn't even tell you who we played against. But I do remember going to New Orleans and playing in the Superdome, I think it was at the time. And I remember that team. And I can tell you a player that you didn't just mention that was an incredible football player, and no one liked to play against him. It was Jumpy Geathers. He had a patented move called the forklift, and he could pick guys just off the ground. And so I remember, the guards having a tough time. Of course, I had Pat Swilling on my side, and Ricky Jackson was on the other side, and they had some good DBs, and they were a little skeptic on offense, but I think they ended up beating us that game. I don't remember what the score was, but I do remember that they did beat us that particular game. It was a tough one.
And Jeff, one other thing I wanted to get to see if you had a memory of one of our good friends on the show here is the former middle linebacker for the Colts, Jeff Harrod. And obviously you guys were in the same division, with the Colts at that point. Do you remember playing up against Jeff and you guys? Twice a year.
Yeah, Jeff and I hit each other a bunch of times, and he was always talking a little smack to me, and I'd talk it right back. And I'll tell you another guy you just had on tonight that I played a lot against was Marco. I was already a 5-year vet when he came onto the scene for Miami, and I remember playing him many times with the Dolphins and a couple times with the Chargers as well before I ended my career. So that's another guy. And I think Reuben Davis, I'm pretty certain he was during my time as well.
Right.
But I don't remember. I think he was an interior guy, and I don't think I remember him much. But yeah, those guys. I do remember Jeff Ferrata and playing against him. He was a very competitive, great player for Indianapolis. It was fun. It was fun it was always a good rival with Indianapolis Colts when I was with the Jets.
Jeff, before we let you go, remind our listeners how they can follow you, whether it's online or over social media.
You know what? On your show is a good way. Facebook, I am on Facebook. I tend not to friend everybody, but if you know somebody I know, I normally do. But right now, I'm a realtor here in Greenwich, Connecticut, and I'm looking to do some things with Brandon Steiner, and Steiner Sports. This year some, and I don't know what that's going to all entail. And I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with Brandon and what he does. Yep. But I'm really, really kind of excited to be around sports and athletics and athletes and contributing. And I think there's some things I'm going to do with him that are going to be new and different and provide that for me as well. But that's it. I'm here in Greenwich, so if you guys need me to come back on, I'll definitely do that for you. I really enjoy my time talking with you about it. Always brings back a lot of memories, that's for sure.
Excellent.
Well, we appreciate your time tonight, Jeff, and we'll definitely have you back on. We can't thank you enough for getting off the train and giving us a call and being a part of the show tonight. And we look forward to catching up with you hopefully again real soon.
Okay, guys. You have a good one.
All right, take care, Jeff.
Bye, guys.
That is former Jets and Chiefs tackle Jeff Criswell. And, Bob, to think about, clipping somebody's helmet and getting hit in the head 400 times in a practice. I mean, that's crazy.
Oh, just hearing about it, Chris, and with all the CTE and hearing. But, I mean, what first came to my mind is, again, this is a guy that played 171 games in the NFL, rarely missed a game. I remember him when he was here in New York, such a big man too, Chris, 6'7", about 300 pounds, and just the pounding on the legs and the head. And it's amazing. Like you said, a lot of these guys get out of it better than others, and he seems like he's doing very well still with it, and very intelligent man. But was a fan favorite in New York because he was there for a long time and on some not so good teams. But you mentioned guys like Jeff Criswell back in those days, and they will remember the big man on the left side. So it's always a pleasure speaking with him. Great player.
Yeah, yes, he was. So we look forward to catching up with Jeff again here real soon. All right, when Bob and I come back, we'll be turning on our Thursday night tailgate spotlight on the positive. So stick with us. Hear which players are doing great things in their communities. We'll do that and wrap up the show on the other side of this word about our friends at the Salt Creek Golf Retreat.
If you're looking for a great place for your annual golf outing, a weekend golf getaway, or just a round of golf with your buddies, then Salt Creek Golf Retreat is just what you're looking for. Centrally located in Nashville, Indiana, just south of Indianapolis and west of Cincinnati. This challenging but fair 18-hole golf course appeals to all skill levels, and its scenic views of rolling hills and tree-lined fairways are sure to make golfing memories for years to come. Owned and operated by former Purdue and New York Giant fullback Randy Manier, Salt Creek Golf Retreat offers stay-and-play packages that include golf and a fully furnished 1- or 2-bedroom condo. After your round, be sure to stop by the 19th Hole Sports Bar and Restaurant for great food, fun, and drinks. Randy and his staff will treat you like family. For more information, log on to saltcreekgolf.com. That's saltcreekgolf.com. Or give them a call at 812-558-5944. Salt Creek Golf Retreat. Start making your golfing memories today.